ever get that, like, kind of creepy feeling when you open up an app and it's like, boom, they already know what you were just thinking about buying?
Yeah.
It's like our data, right? It's the new gold rush. But we're not the ones, panning for gold or the mountain they're digging through.
Yeah.
But what if? What if we could flip the script? What if we could be in control? And that's what we're diving into today, this idea of real-time data sovereignty.
It's really fascinating, the tech behind it, too. We're talking about blockchain, quantum AI.
Oh, okay.
And this really cool thing called homomorphic encryption.
Okay, see, you're already using words like trifecta innovation. I'm in. But let's break it down. How does this actually work? Because we're not just talking about, like, deleting cookies here, right?
No, not at all. This is about, like, fundamentally changing how we think about data.
Yeah.
So imagine every single piece of your data, every click, every purchase, even every doctor's visit, it's all documented.
Okay.
It's all on this secure, transparent ledger. And that's where blockchain comes in.
So it's kind of like a public record, but for my personal info?
Exactly. But here's the real kicker. It's not just tracking the data. It's actually enforcing agreements about how that data is used.
Okay.
And that's where we get to these smart contracts. Think of them like your own personal data bodyguard.
Data bodyguards. Love it. Okay, so walk me through this. How would this even work with a healthcare app, for example?
Okay. Let's say you're using an app, right?
Yeah.
And it's tracking your sleep patterns. Now, normally, you might have to give them access to way more than you want just to use the app.
Yeah.
With a smart contract, you can actually say, you can analyze my sleep data, but that's it.
Okay.
You don't get my medication history, you don't get my family stuff, none of that.
Wow. So I get to, like, set the terms for one.
Exactly.
That's huge.
And the beauty of this is because these contracts, they live on the blockchain.
Okay.
They can't be messed with. There's no fine print, no hidden clauses. It's all out in the open. It's transparent, it's secure.
Hold on. Secure. Because all this futuristic tech, right, it's got to come with its own risks. I mean, quantum computers, those things sound like they can crack, like, any code.
You're absolutely right, and that is a great question. I mean, what's the point of having control over your data if it's not even safe, right?
Right, exactly. And this is where, we turn to our source material today. We're talking about a white paper by data security expert Alan Wesley. So how does he address these concerns? How do we make sure that blockchain can stand up to something as powerful as quantum computing?
That's where things get really interesting. He dives into this whole area called quantum-resistant solutions.
Oh, okay.
And these are basically cryptographic techniques, right? And they're specifically designed to withstand attacks, even from these super powerful quantum computers.
Okay.
Think of it like...
Okay, so quantum-resistant solutions, they're like future-proofing our digital security. I like the sound of that. But let's be real for a sec. Even with our everyday computers, right? Things can be so slow. Imagine trying to manage 1 million tiny data transactions. Every time I want to, check the weather on my phone, that's gotta be a nightmare, even for a supercomputer.
You're totally right. That's actually one of the biggest challenges with this whole real-time data sovereignty thing. It's this idea of scalability. If we're talking about giving control back to individuals, the system has to be able to keep up, right?
Right.
We're talking a massive volume of transactions all happening at the same time. And that's where quantum AI comes in.
Okay, yes. Quantum AI. This is the part where I was like, okay, I keep hearing quantum AI, but what does that even do?
Right.
Like, what is it? Is it a robot butler for my data? What's going on?
Okay, so think of it this way. If blockchain is the foundation, right, and those smart contracts, those are your legal team, then quantum AI, that's the engine. That's what makes this whole thing run smoothly. It can analyze massive, huge data sets crazy fast, which is exactly what we need if we're going to be handling millions of individual data transactions every second.
So going back to my weather app, instead of my phone being like, I'm thinking, trying to hammer out all these data deals, quantum AI just swoops in. It's like, boom, done.
Exactly. And because it can analyze data so quickly, it opens up all these possibilities that with normal computing, it's just not even possible. We're talking like dynamic data pricing.
Okay, hold on. Let's say dynamic data pricing.
Yeah.
So like my data is a stock option now.
Exactly.
I kind of love it.
So the price of your data, it can fluctuate in real time. It's based on demand, your personal preferences.
Okay. But let's say a company, they want my data. They play by the rules. They pay the price, even if it's just a tiny piece for like a microtransaction, whatever. How do we know they're not going to like make copies and share it with their shady friends?
That's a great question, and that is where homomorphic encryption comes in.
Okay.
This is like it's like the ultimate privacy ninja. This tech is amazing because it actually allows data to be analyzed while it's still encrypted.
Wait. Seriously, okay, I'm trying to picture this. It's like a lockbox, right? But somehow you can still see inside and count the money, but you can't actually open it.
It's kind of like that, yeah. Think about like your bank, right?
Okay.
They want to analyze your financial data just to make sure there's no fraud going on.
Right.
With homomorphic encryption, they can analyze for patterns, right? Like any weird stuff going on with your transactions without ever actually being able to see your account numbers, how much money you have, none of it.
Okay, this is good because I'm getting visions of like actually being able to understand my bank statements for once while my info's still on lockdown. That's a win-win.
Exactly. And think about the compliance side of things too. Like this is huge, right?
Yeah.
For meeting all those requirements.
Yeah.
GDPR, CCPA, all the data privacy regulations that are always changing. This is like building privacy into the system itself.
So it's not just about protecting me, it's making life easier for the good guys.
Exactly. It simplifies everything. And this isn't just theoretical. There are actually pilot programs popping up, testing these technologies out in the real world.
Okay, spill the tea. Which industries are like stepping up, becoming responsible data citizens? Pilot programs, real-world applications. See, now you're speaking my language. This is what gets me excited. It's not just some like futuristic fantasy anymore. So where are we seeing this tech in action?
Well, healthcare is a big one.
Okay.
Wesley, he talks about this pilot program, right? Where patients could give researchers access to their medical data.
Okay.
But it's encrypted.
Okay, but how do you even analyze data that's still scrambled? That's like, it's like trying to do a jigsaw puzzle, but all the pieces are like glued together.
That's the beauty of homomorphic encryption, right?
Yeah.
They can actually run calculations on the data without ever seeing the actual information.
Ah, wow.
So, for example, they might be able to identify like trends in the data or genetic markers for certain diseases.
Okay.
But they would never know who those patients were.
No privacy violations, groundbreaking research. That's okay. I'm into it. What about other fields? Anything outside of healthcare?
Oh, yeah, definitely. The financial sector is another big one.
Okay.
Think about all those microtransactions we do online every day, right?
Right, yeah.
This tech, it could be huge for like fraud detection. Analyzing all those patterns, but in real time.
Okay.
And your financial data. Totally under wraps.
Okay, that's huge. But part of me can't help but think this is a lot, right? Like all this sounds amazing, but are we even ready for a world where we're like managing our data at this level?
It's definitely a big change, yeah. But I think the question is, can we afford not to be ready? Data is only becoming more valuable, right?
Right.
And the threats are getting more sophisticated.
That's true. That's a really good point. But even if the technology's there, right? Like changing how people think, how we behave on such a massive scale.
Right.
That's a whole other challenge. How do we even begin to get everyone on board with this?
Well, Wesley seems to think, he argues that as more people, right, as we become more aware of just how valuable our data is and how risky the current system is, they'll start demanding better.
Okay.
And he's not just talking about us, individual people here. He's talking about businesses too.
Okay.
The ones who actually want to build trust with their customers.
So it's like a ripple effect.
Exactly.
The more people who demand control, the more companies will have to adapt. I like that. It's it's kind of empowering.
Yeah. And it's not just about demanding change, right? It's about like putting our money where our mouth is, you know?
Yeah.
Supporting the companies and the initiatives that are already trying to do things differently.
Yeah.
Like this is where we, as consumers, this is where we have power.
So much info, so much to think about. I feel like we just like dipped our toes into the shallow end of the real-time data sovereignty pool.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a topic we're going to have to keep diving into. So as we kind of wrap things up here, what's like the big takeaway? What's Wesley leave us with?
He leaves us with a question, a challenge, really.
Yeah.
And it's this: what would you do, right, if you were actually in control of your data?
Wow. I mean, it's such a simple question, but like it really makes you think, It's like he's saying, here you go, here's the power, now what are you going to do with it?
Exactly. It's about starting that conversation.
Yeah.
Educating ourselves.
Yeah.
Demanding better. The future of data control, it's not going to just be handed to us.
Yeah.
It's something we got to build ourselves.
And on that note, it is time to wrap up our deep dive into the fascinating world of real-time data sovereignty. I am leaving this conversation feeling, honestly, a little bit empowered, a little bit hopeful, and hopefully you are too. So until next time, keep asking questions, stay curious, and remember, the future of your data, well, it's in your hands.